You narrate your own life. Walking to the coffee shop becomes a movie scene. Getting dressed is character development. Listening to music transforms into a montage. Every moment gets filtered through the lens of, how would this look in my story? You're living like you're being watched, like your life is a narrative someone's consuming. But nobody's watching. And while you're performing for an invisible audience, your actual life is passing by, unedited, raw, unlived. This is the main character trap, and it's why your arc feels stuck. The brain has a system called the default mode network. It activates when you're not focused on external tasks. This is where self-reflection happens, where you process experiences, build memories, integrate learning. It's supposed to help you understand your life, but social media hijacked it. Now, instead of processing experiences, you're curating them. Instead of reflecting on who you are, you're constructing who you want to appear to be. You're not living moments, you're pre-editing them. Before something even happens, you're already thinking, how would I describe this? What caption would I write? How does this fit my narrative? The experience becomes secondary to the story about the experience. You're so busy performing your life that you're not actually present for it. There's a voice narrating everything, not out loud, in your head. She walked into the room. He didn't know what was about to happen. This was the moment everything changed. You're creating dramatic narration for mundane events. Getting coffee becomes a pivotal scene. A conversation becomes character-defining dialogue. Rain becomes pathetic fallacy reflecting your mood. This isn't poetic. This is your prefrontal cortex working overtime to transform lived experience into performed narrative. The physical symptom? You can feel the gap. There's you experiencing something, and there's you watching yourself experience it. Like you're floating slightly outside your body, observing, narrating, judging whether this moment is main character energy or not. You're never fully present because part of you is always performing for the version of you that's watching. Social media didn't create this, but it weaponized it. Every platform is designed around the question, what's your story? What's your narrative? What's your aesthetic? Your feed becomes your character profile. Your posts are plot points. Your stories are, well, stories. You're not sharing your life, you're constructing a narrative identity and hoping people subscribe to it. Comment below if you've ever done something primarily because of how it would look on your feed. Not because you wanted the experience, because you wanted the evidence of the experience. The photo, the post, the story. You're collecting proof of a narrative instead of actually living. The dopamine doesn't come from the moment anymore, it comes from the performance of the moment. Here's why your arc feels stuck. Main characters and stories have clear progression, obstacles, growth, change. But you're trying to be the main character while also being the writer, and you don't know what happens next, so you stall. You wait for plot developments that you're supposed to create. You expect character growth to happen to you instead of through you. You're performing a story that has no script. This creates what psychologists call narrative identity paralysis. You're so focused on maintaining your character that you can't make choices that break character, even when those choices would help you grow. You reject opportunities because they don't fit your aesthetic, avoid challenges because they're not your vibe. You've trapped yourself in a persona and called it authenticity. The physical symptom? Nothing feels real anymore. Good things happen and you feel numb. Bad things happen and you're already narrating how you'll frame them. Everything becomes material for the story instead of lived experience. You're experiencing your own life secondhand through the filter of how you'll tell it later. Maintaining a main character identity costs energy. Constant self-monitoring, continuous performance management, every action filtered through, does this align with my narrative? Is this on brand? Would the protagonist I'm building do this? This is the identity tax, the cognitive load of performing coherence when real humans are contradictory and messy. The prefrontal cortex handles executive function, planning, decision-making, self-regulation. When it's busy maintaining your performed identity, it has less bandwidth for everything else. This is why people exhausted from maintaining their image struggle with basic tasks. The brain is allocating resources to performance instead of function. You're spending mental energy on seeming like someone instead of being someone. You're performing for people who aren't watching. Not really. They're scrolling, glancing, moving on. 30 seconds of attention if you're lucky. But you're living your entire life as if you're under constant observation. This is called the imaginary audience effect, originally identified in adolescents, now endemic in adults who never learn to stop performing. Drop a comment if you've ever caught yourself doing something differently because of how it would look to others who weren't even there. That's the imaginary audience, and it's controlling your choices. You're rejecting genuine desires because they wouldn't fit the narrative, choosing performative actions over authentic ones, living for applause that isn't coming. The cruelest irony? You perform authenticity. You cultivate a raw aesthetic, share vulnerable posts, create unfiltered content. But if you're thinking about how authentic something looks, it's not authentic. Authenticity, by definition, can't be performed. The moment you're aware of being authentic for an audience, you're performing. You're caught in a loop of performing the performance of not performing. Real authenticity is unconscious. You're not thinking about how you're coming across. You're just existing, responding, being. The moment you step back and curate it, you've left authenticity and entered performance. This is why your arc feels stagnant. You're performing growth instead of actually growing, posting about change instead of changing. Your character develops in captions, but your actual life stays the same. Breaking this requires what I call the presence protocol. Not tips, a framework. Step 1, notice when you're narrating. When that voice starts describing what you're doing, acknowledge it. Don't fight it, just notice. Step 2, return to sensation. What do you actually feel? Not how you would describe the feeling itself. Temperature, texture, weight, raw input before narrative processing. Step 3, make one choice nobody would see. Do something purely for yourself with zero documentation, zero sharing, zero narrative value. Something that wouldn't make sense in your story. This breaks the performance muscle, teaches your brain that experience can exist without an audience, that you can be someone when nobody's watching. That's where your actual character lives, in the undocumented moments. Your arc feels stagnant because you're not living a story, you're narrating one. Stories are external, life is internal. Stories need coherence, life is chaos. Stories require character consistency, people are contradictory. You're trying to be the main character when you should just be a person. The moment you stop performing your life is the moment it starts actually happening. The main character trap keeps you frozen in performance while life happens off stage. Stop asking how your story looks. Start asking how your life feels. Subscribe if you're ready to stop performing and start existing.